I started my first business all the way back in 2020 when I was 16. Since then, obviously, I've made hundreds, if not thousands of mistakes. Here in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down 5 of them, why they matter, and how they can save you time, money, effort, and relationships. The first mistake that I want to talk about is doing too much. Part of the reason I did number 1 very first is because it is the one that I struggle with the most. When I was 16, I founded my first company called You Want a Life, which is a fly fishing tour agency, so we take people out on tours. After working on You Want a Life for about a year and a half, I co-acquired Cathedral Brand, which is a pickleball apparel company. A couple of years later, I ended up doing door-to-door sales to buy back my time so that I didn't have to work a job and could go all in on my business. And then since then, at the time of recording this video, I have founded my third company, which is AI consulting for businesses. So, like I said, more than anything, this one's for me. But this is why this is so important for you and how to avoid this mistake. Now, at the very beginning of business, at the very beginning of entrepreneurship, at the very beginning of doing anything on your own, everything seems very exciting. Everything should be exciting. I mean, come on, it's new. But part of the problem with that is we get into this trap, we fall victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is the following. First, we have inception of the actual event, which is stage number 1, where we learn about it, okay? So this is where we are presented with a new opportunity. Second point is, some people call this the amount of stupidity, which I think is fitting. This is number 2. This is when we think we know a ton about it, or in other words, our confidence is super high, but our actual knowledge of it is extremely low, right? So we think we know everything about it. We're like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna make a ton of money on this. You know, I'll be able to buy back my time, passive income, whatever all those buzzwords are that you kind of fall into. And we get super excited about an opportunity. And then as we progress forward and as our knowledge increases, we fall into something called the valley of despair. This is also called informed pessimism. So this is when we are, like, we know a little bit more about it, but we have no hope. We see all of the potential downsides for an opportunity and we realize that it is way harder than we ever thought possible. So the reason that this is so dangerous, especially for aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs, is you learn of an opportunity, you get super pumped about it, your energy's super high, you're feeling super good about it, and then you fall into the valley of despair, and then instead of pushing through it and actually seeing the benefits, seeing the results of all of your hard work, you simply just say, okay, this wasn't for me, I'm not good at this, I'm not naturally inclined to do all of these things, blah, 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 and you just restart. So you go to a different opportunity and you just repeat this process forever and ever and ever and ever. That is the first mistake that people make. An analogy that I like that helps me overcome this issue or to falling victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect is imagine that you are in a huge room and there are hundreds of tables and every single table has an unsolved puzzle on it. Now, if you were to go and start solving a puzzle, you might get super excited as you get the edge pieces and you finish the edge, and then you might get some of the easier parts of the puzzle done. But once it gets hard, imagine if you gave up and then you went to a new table every single time that it got tough and started re-solving a new puzzle. This visualization helps me at least picture what it looks like almost from an outsider's perspective every single time that I choose to leave one thing behind and then go start another thing. Get to these 2 parts. The fourth one is the slope of enlightenment. And that was touch point number 4. And the 5th one is plateau sustainability. So going back to our analogy, if we push through and we actually see the puzzle to the end, we're able to complete a finished puzzle. And with the experience of finishing an entire puzzle, then we can go to another table and say, okay, based off of everything I learned from this puzzle, I'm going to apply it to this new one and restart completely until I've finished it. Each opportunity, each business, each skill has a unique set of challenges that you have to overcome, right? Each opportunity has its valley of despair that you have to overcome in order to get to the slope of enlightenment and the plateau of sustainability to be able to actually reap the rewards of your hard work. So to wrap up mistake number 1, instead of jumping from puzzle to puzzle, take your time, choose one puzzle that you really want to solve and that you're willing to stick to the end, solve that puzzle or, be successful in that opportunity and then transition into other ones. Numero 2. The second mistake is prioritizing perfection over progress. Okay, so for the second mistake, one of my favorite stories that illustrates the fix to this problem or this mistake that is super common, I do it all the time, even today. It took me a second to record this video just because I want it to be good. But the whole point is that you do it. And in the act of doing, you become better at the thing that you're doing. Okay, so the story behind mistake number 2 is there was a pottery teacher that had 2 groups of students. Had group number 1 and group number 2. And he said, each of you are going to be graded completely differently in this semester of the course, okay? The first grade, or the first group, he said, you will be graded on the quality of one vase, or of one piece of pottery or whatever. And then the second group, he said, it does not matter how good or bad the piece that you make is, you're going to be graded on the quantity of vases that you make throughout the entire semester. So these students went through the course, they learned all the exact same things, and as their assignments, this was it. This is their entire grade. And as they went through this course, what the teacher saw, and he repeated this a few different times, and what he saw every single time is that the quality of the vases from the quantity group far exceeded the quality of the group graded on quality. And what this teaches us is that the more that we have a hyper focus on quality, the quality actually might decrease if we're just hyper focused on doing the thing. And in the act of doing the thing, we would get better naturally as a byproduct of all the action that we're taking. We would get better at doing the thing, which would increase the quality of the product that we're making. So it's a complete paradigm shift from I need to make this thing perfect to I just need to do the thing. I just need to do the thing. I just need to do whatever the action is. And as a byproduct, it'll get better. There's a quote that I absolutely love from the co-founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman. If you're not embarrassed by your first version of your product, or in your case, if it's your piece of content, your product, your service, whatever it is, if you're not embarrassed by it, you've launched too late, right? Like you took way too much time to actually make it good enough so that you're not embarrassed by it. So I love this way of thinking. To apply it, simply focus on outcome-based goals. So this is the fix to mistake number 2. Instead of saying create content or write blog posts, if you write something like that in terms of a goal or an action that you want to accomplish, you might spend a ton of time on the planning instead of the actual execution and finishing of those projects. So instead of saying write a blog post, write finish a blog post. So it doesn't matter how bad my blog post is, I just need to finish it. That's my goal, just finish a blog post. And as you get better at it, as you do it more, the better you get at it. Number 3 is the expectations you have for yourself as the business owner, as well as the expectations that you have for your partner in business and your business partner has for you. Okay, mistake number 3. I actually had a different one penciled in for mistake number 3, but then I ended up changing it because this mistake is super important to me because of the personal impact it can have on relationships. Again, going back to the first company that I started, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 17 years old, there was an entrepreneurship competition, and I had ended up starting, at the beginning of You in a Life, I had started it with one more person, and him and I were best buds. We went fishing all the time together. I absolutely love the guy, and we ended up working on the first couple of steps together in the process of building, like the name, the logo, the social media posts, things like that. And then about a year later, when it came time to do the actual competition in terms of the pitch deck, the elevator pitch, all the things that they had required for this competition, a lot of the work that ended up getting done was by myself. There's no disrespect to what was happening, but that was just the reality of the situation, that I was doing the majority of the actual work for the competition. And then after the winnings of the competition had been distributed, he came to me expecting a certain percentage, and that was something that we had never discussed. And so it led to kind of this clash of just kind of this ugly situation that neither of us wanted to be in, obviously. And I mean, it took probably, I think it was a year later that we ended up making up and kind of coming to terms with what had happened. And now again, we're best of friends again. But the way that you can avoid all of this is simply by setting clear expectations with your business partners at the very beginning. So something that I'm starting to believe is the quality of your relationship is directly proportional to the quality of the expectations you have within that relationship. So the way that you can apply this within your businesses in terms of you and your business partner, or even for yourself, is set clear expectations. Say, hey, this is what I expect from this relationship. I want you to do this thing, this thing, this thing. I will be participating in this thing, this thing, this thing. This is how you'll be compensated. This is how I'll be compensated. When this situation arises, this is how we're going to handle it. Doing as much of those hard conversations hypothetically instead of in the moment, especially when money is involved, you can absolutely save relationships and the business itself. Number 4 is thinking you are special. Well, yes, you are. You are hardworking, you are amazing, you're fantastic, you are all of those good qualities. But what you're not special means is that no one knows who you are and no one knows why you're different. You have to convey through actions, words, social media posts, etc., every interaction that you have with another individual, especially in a professional setting, why you are those two things. Well, first of all, who you are and why you're different. If you cannot do these two things, you will never be able to express to someone else why what you're doing is important. And when you can express to someone else why what you're doing is important, it reinforces what you're doing in your own mind. The fix for this mistake is very simple. I have 2 quick activities. The first one is the 3 whys. So the 3 whys activity is super simple. All it is at the very top, you list what you're doing, whether that's starting a business, starting a new job, pursuing a new skill, learning a new skill, whatever it is, you list up at the very top what you're doing. And then underneath that, you list 3 whys. So you go 3 whys deep. You say, why am I doing this thing? And then whatever the answer is to that question, you say, okay, but why? And you force yourself to answer that question. And then you go a second why deep and you say, okay, from that answer, why? Why do I really want to do this thing? And you go a third why deep. And by doing so, you actually uncover a lot of previously hidden things that you didn't even know about why you want to do or learn a certain thing. And it actually helps you clarify or express to someone else in your words why you are doing a certain thing. The second activity is super simple as well. This is one that I got from a mentor that is very good at sales. He's extremely good at what he does. And it's just called 1 pitch, 2 numbers. Okay, and the reason this one is important is because it gives you something to say that you actually believe to someone else whenever they ask you why you're doing a certain thing. So for my fly fishing business, something that we do is every single time someone buys a product off of our website, whether it be, a hoodie, hat, shirt, whatever it is, we plant a tree. And my 1 pitch, 2 numbers for that specific thing is every single year, 15 billion trees are cut down. So for every product purchase, we plant 1 tree. So instead of telling someone, it's the exact same thing of telling someone that, every single year there are a lot of trees cut down, and for every product that you buy from my company, we plant a tree. Again, looping back to the actual mistake that I made was you're not special, thinking that you are special. These 2 activities, all they do and all they're designed to do is to help you convey to other people why you are special, right? What makes you different and why what you're doing makes you different. What sets you apart from your competitors? Number 5, the last one, is overcomplicating everything. Let me try and explain to you why this is so important and the reason that this is so dangerous for businesses, especially young business owners such as myself, is because instead of moving the needle forward and actually doing things that make a difference within the business and making a living for yourself, is you get stuck on tasks that have 0 consequence long term. So what this looks like in a day-to-day, let's say I have a task that I need to finish for the day, and then I go from the task to not knowing, and then I go from not knowing to learning, and then instead of finishing this loop and actually completing the tasks, what ends up happening is I go down this sub-branch of learning, and then I learn. So the problem is, instead of finishing the loop and actually completing the original task that you needed to actually finish, you go down this branch of not knowing how to do something to learning something, and then you end up learning how to do all these other things that are completely irrelevant to what you actually set out to do in the first place. If you struggle with this, as I'm sure many of you do, I do as well, first of all, let me know if you have anything extra to add to this. But for this specific mistake, the fix for this is super simple. This is what has worked for me. At any time, if I'm doing anything, whether I'm working on the business or in the business, I ask myself, am I doing one of these 3 things? Leads, sales, product. It's a terrible R, but you know what it is. Am I generating leads? Am I increasing quality or quantity of leads? Am I increasing quality or quantity of sales? And am I increasing the quality of my product? Granted, there are other departments of business, such as your finances, such as the actual product development, such as content, market, like all of those things. Yes, there are millions and millions of sub-branches, but if you are not doing one of these three things, just ask yourself the question, am I increasing the quality or quantity of my leads? Am I increasing or generating sales? And am I increasing the actual quality of my product? If you are not doing one of those three things, don't do the thing, period. To wrap things up, there is a really cool quote that I love from a religious leader named John Taylor, who said, "It is true intelligence for a man to take a subject that is mysterious and great in itself and to unfold and simplify it so that a child may understand it." It is so easy to overcomplicate this process. It's easy to overthink, easy to overanalyze, but if we can just simplify it to the absolute most simple version of the task or whatever is at hand, to be able to push the needle forward and get better at the thing, that is something that requires true intelligence. If you made it to the end of this video, I'm truly appreciative. This is only my 4th attempt at a YouTube video. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, if you've made any of these mistakes, or if there are any other ones that maybe I might have missed that are more important. I'd love to discuss. And of course, if you'd like to network with like-minded entrepreneurs, business owners, people interested in similar things, feel free to join the link in the description. It is a free AI community that I've created, just as a space for people to hang out and where we can all learn together. I'd love to see you in there. Love to hop on a call and get to know you. But until then, we'll see you later.